Good morning. I've always loved to read missionary biographies and autobiographies. In fact, I raised my girls reading them stories of Gladys Aylward. I think that's how you pronounce it. She was a missionary to China. Amy Carmichael, she was a missionary to India who rescued children that had been sold into temple prostitution and started orphanages and schools for them. Um, Hudson Taylor, who was a missionary to China, who first adopted the practice of dressing like the Chinese and not trying to get them to change their culture. Who else did I think of? Adoniram Judson, the first missionary to Burma, who was treated horribly, but his witness and testimony started the church there. So it's just so encouraging to see how God used these people. And sometimes they lived to a ripe old age, and sometimes they didn't. But God still used the seeds they planted to grow his church and have his kingdom come to earth. And I really like the devotional from Streams in the Desert today because Mrs. Cowman tells some of these stories. And the verse she uses is, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. And that's John 12:24. And that verse has captured my attention since I was a very young Christian. In Northampton, Massachusetts, stands the old cemetery where David Brainerd is buried. Brainerd, a pioneer American missionary, died in 1747 at the age of 29 after suffering from tuberculosis. His grave is next to that of Jerusha Edwards, the daughter of Jonathan Edwards, a Puritan theologian of that day. Brainerd loved Jerusha and they were engaged to be married, but he did not live until the wedding. Imagine what hopes, dreams, and expectations for the cause of Christ were buried in that grave with the withered body of that young missionary. At that point, nothing remained but memories and several dozen Indian converts. Yet, Jonathan Edwards, that majestic old Puritan saint who had hoped to call Brainerd his son, began to write the story of his short life in a little book. That book took wings, flew across the sea, and landed on the desk of a Cambridge student by the name of Henry Martyn. Poor Henry Martyn! In spite of his education, brilliance, and great opportunities, he, after reading the little book about the life of Brainerd, threw his own life away. Afterward, what he had accomplished once he set his course toward, toward home from India in 1812. With his health then broken, he dragged himself as far north as the town of Tokat, Turkey, near the Black Sea. There he lay in the shade of piles of saddles to cool his burning fever, and he died alone at the age of 31. I haven't heard of Henry Martyn before. What was the purpose behind these wasted lives? From the grave of young David Brainerd and the lonely grave of Henry Martyn near the shores of the Black Sea, there has arisen a mighty army of modern missionaries. Here's a poem. Is there some desert or boundless sea where you, great God of angels, will send me some oak for me to rend, some sod for me to break, some handful of your corn to take and scatter far afield? Till it in turn will yield its hundredfold of grains of gold, to feed the happy children of my God. Show me the desert, Father, or the sea. Is it your enterprise? Great God, send me. And though this body lies where the ocean rolls, Father, count me among all faithful souls. So, who's your favorite missionary, or what's your favorite missionary story? I would love to hear who has influenced you the most in your Christian walk, as far as those who have gone overseas. Um, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.